Welcome everybody to the Hobby Backlog. My name is Dave. You might have seen a few of my other videos. Today, I'm running a little bit behind, as some of you can tell. Trying to get the chat to work. Let's see if we can get that going. All right. Oops, I need to mute that. So I realized right before I started that I had packed up all my brushes and things to go to a painting thing at the local shop. So I had to pull all those back out again. So I'm going through them, and I can tell you right now that there's a delay on what I'm saying here and what's happening on my screen, which is usual for these types of things. So if you have a question, then ask it and I'll get to it as soon as possible. So I'm watching the chat. Looks like we have a couple of people maybe in there, or that's just me watching on two different devices. You might have seen some of Nick's live stuff with Heavy Gear Blitz. I am currently in my Hobby Backlog. I do have Heavy Gear Blitz stuff to do, but those are as different videos. I have a video of magnetizing some Capri stuff, which I'm working on. If you ask anybody I know, that's my normal phrase. I'm working on it. So, especially ask my wife, she'll tell you. All right. And if there's anybody in the chat who's watching, please let me know how the video looks to you, and also the sound. Because right now I am going to see if I can get a little closer on this camera. We can zoom in a little bit to a spot that I'm comfortable with. And also hopefully turn off the autofocus, because a lot of times when you deal with these things, autofocus can be bad. So we're going to turn off the autofocus on that. We're going to zoom in just a little. If you hear my dogs in the background, I apologize. That's just the way they do things. So, and it looks like I need to adjust this camera a little bit further down, because I'm going to be painting here. And I meant to have all of this set up earlier, but unfortunately I didn't, so nothing I can do about that now. So let me get a focus on this. I mean, that looks pretty good. See if I take it. Nope, it's a little fuzzy then. So let's go back to where I had it. I think that's about right for what I need. I think that zoom is pretty good too. everybody should be able to see a pretty good portion of what's going on here. And as long as I keep it in the window, I'm going to apply those settings and say OK. Okay, well, it looks like, whoa, yes, thank you, OBS, for your infinite wisdom on how big things should be. I adjust things, and then when I did the focus, it popped up again. But we'll get it right, and we're going to keep this set up here for a while. I want to do more of these. I want to get more things done. That means more videos that I can make, and etc. So we definitely want to make sure we get those things done. I apologize for the delay and for you having to watch the behind the scenes here. And that should actually be above that. Okay, so that's what's happening here. Once again, I apologize for this. Let me squeeze this down just a little bit more. Like right there. There we go. I think that'll work. Once I pop this back. See, this is the problem. Everything gets all wonky here. So let me pull this in. Beautiful. Alright. So don't particularly like that completely, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. So, anyway, like I said, my chat's still not up, it looks like. So, we'll try that again. Let's pop out the chat, see if that helps us to see it better. There we go. That ought to do it. That's where I messed up. Alright, so hopefully we get a few more people in here. I would like to get at least as many viewers as Nick does there. So he can't just be like, aha, I got more than you. So I've been working with these Blood Bowl dwarfs for forever. We have, for those of you who haven't seen, Tabletop Sports Network. That's part of our YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, and that's where we do sports related games in a little bit different fashion. So we've done some Guild Ball videos where we have so basically we record the games at our local shop, and then Ethan and I go over and voice over them. And kind of like sports commentators. We talk about what's what's being played, what the players are doing, and what we suggest maybe instead. Those types of things. I mean, like I said, it's just like a sports commentary thing that you would see on ESPN or something like that. Not exactly, but close. And but we have a good time with it, and so hopefully we can do the same thing for Blood Bowl at some point. Even though I'm making a Blood Bowl, doing some Blood Bowl painting here and talking about Blood Bowl at the moment, doesn't necessarily mean that's all we can talk about this evening. Because we have a bunch of things that we can talk about. So, and that should be below that one. We can talk about gaming in general, miniatures gaming in general. If you have any questions about the channel, any video suggestions, stuff like that, I'm more than happy to hear those too. So, like I said, please feel free to let me know what you want to talk about. So we got another viewer in. I'm sorry we're like 11 minutes in and I'm still futzing with stuff, but that's okay. So these Blood Bowl Dwarfs, I'll show you. We have the previous ones, which are on the left, these Troll Slayers. They're part of the Dwarfs, or what they call Dwarf Giant Team, or whatever it's called, from GW. And so we have this Troll Slayer, and this one with all the stuff in his beard, so on and so forth, you can see. And I'm not a studio painter or anything like that, professional painter, but I'm not a speed painter, so I do kind of in the middle. I'll have sometimes where I won't put all the detail into it, but I do take my time, a little more than some. So I'm zoomed in pretty good, but I want to bring in and show you. This is what I have left to paint right here. And hey Tristan, how you doing, buddy? But this is what I have to paint here. And remember, I'm on the delay here, so if I don't get to you right away, I apologize. I'm just bringing some of these into line. So Tristan is in here. He's very familiar with these dwarfs, which he's painted like I don't know, two or three, or probably even 4 teams, and I haven't even gotten that far. So with this one, so see Tristan, I finally got my Troll Slayers painted. Ooh, okay. So today, we have our 2 blitzers, which is where we're going to be today. The blitzers are basically indicated by these hand weapons that they have. So I have the Troll Slayer up on the left hand side of the screen so that you can see the previous paint that we did with the Troll Slayer, so that you see the color scheme a little bit and what we're going for, because the GW color scheme that they show on their website with a box isn't the colors that I wanted. It's similar. It's like the blue, but instead of using gold, I've used white and chosen to do some dark shade on it to make it kind of stonish. So we're going to concentrate on right now, and then we'll move on from there. Is the blitzers, okay? And then after the blitzers, we have 2 runners. Where's my other runner? Okay, and you can't hardly see it because it's in black right now, but they're carrying footballs. Okay, so those will be the next two because they're specialized, and then after that, we do the linemen. Okay, and this is everything that came in the box. Ended up getting it from another friend of the shop that I used to own out of Camden. So made a trade or something along those lines for me to get these dwarfs because I like dwarfs and gnomes and all the other small peoples. So, and when we get to the alignment, it'll be an even bigger thing. So I paint with the paint handle of some sort. Sometimes I use this GW one because it's got a clamp, and sometimes I use a little poster tack and this little handle that I made here. It's made out of wood. I just turned it on my lathe and made it round. And that's one of the other things that I'm working on right now for War Machine. For our War Machine Escalation series, which has been kind of on hold, but it isn't over. We're still going to do that. And Tristan, we're talking about doing another Blood Bowl League for these Tabletop Sports Network games. Since you're in the chat, are you interested in doing that? We'll make sure you get to the place where we're going to have it when we have it. All right, so we're going to start. I started the flesh tones on these, as you can see. I was going to do like a. I'll lay that down so you can kind of see it. So we started. I started doing like an assembly line painting on these. I was going to do a quick painting, but like I said, most people know I don't do many things fast. I get caught up in the details. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and make sure I have all the flesh parts done so that I can go over it with a flesh tone that I have. And then we'll start building up from there. When I paint, I got a suggestion once. Oh, cool. Awesome. So we're definitely going to, I'll talk to you about it on Facebook later and get it set up. Camden is ready to go with it. He's painting up his black golf hooligans or whatever they're called, his orcs. So that'll probably be the first game that we record is his one. That's weird. Okay. Anyway. So I'm shaking up this paint because I'm a firm believer you can never shake enough paint or shake paint enough to make sure it's ready to go. All right. So we're going to. I think we got it shaken up enough. Like I said, we're going to go over the flesh tones. Like I said, when I paint, I like to paint in layers, just like I would if I were making something in a photo program or whatever. We start with the bottom and kind of work our way up. So we get all the flesh tones done, and then we'll move on to the shoulder pads and the stuff that's built upon that. And we'll move on with the blues. Hey, Peyton. How's it going, buddy? And got some high elves. Okay, yeah. I mean, we had so much going on back then. I can't remember half the stuff. And that paint is not ready. It is bubbly, or it's real watery. So it needs a little bit more of a shake. So I'm sorry if you get any camera shake here. But let's see. What else we got going on? It's kind of hard to keep up with this. I'm reading the chat, but it's like I said, it's on a delay. So just bear with me if you ask a question, because I'm showing it being way behind what I'm doing right now. So we'll see how that works. what I said. So anyway, talk about Blood Bowl a little bit. Watching from work. That's fine. No problem with that whatsoever. No problem with that whatsoever. It's dedication is what that is. So Blood Bowl is Games Workshop put it out. I don't even remember the year. I mean, it's been years. It's been around for a long time, and but it is a game. Was basically, I always called it like a UK gaming company's idea of what American football is. Because it's not exactly football, but it's close, and very close. And there's no water in there. Ah, nice. All hail Nuffle. So basically, it's a UK gaming company's version of football, American football. And I mean, I got pretty good coverage here, but we're just going to give it one more little go. Might have got a little too much paint on my brush there. When you're putting on these first layers, though, I mean, you don't have to worry about how messy you are, really. Because you're going to go over the other parts with another color anyway. The only time I ever say that that's not necessarily the case is if you're working on with dark colors, because it makes it harder to put the lighter colors on. So anyway, so the story loosely based, and I'm sure I'm going to get a correction here. Peyton's been waiting to try Blood Bowl. We can definitely get you in there. And get you on the YouTubes too. But so basically, the fantasy races of the Warhammer universe, the orcs, and so goblins, so on and so forth. I don't remember who found it. If y'all remember, let me know. But basically, they found they were looking for a way to settle differences, so on and so forth. They found basically an NFL playbook. So the NFL, and they basically call it like the Sacred Book of Nuffle, and it's basically a playbook. And from there, they learned the rules of football, but made it their own. Because unlike regular football, you can die in Blood Bowl. So, and that's important when you start looking at leagues and stuff like that where you're multiple games. Because if a player dies during a game, a dwarf found the middle book. Yeah. There you go. So, the dwarf found the book, which is awesome because I'm a dwarf. And apparently he went insane. But anyway, so they started using this to kind of settle differences and so on and so forth. But like I said, it's a lot more violent than regular football. So every time that you have contact between the other, and you can break armor and knock out, stun, or kill your opponent, badly hurt them, so on and so forth. It goes in pretty in depth as to what casualties and things like that you can actually have. So, but it's a lot of fun and can be very frustrating. And because some races like the dwarfs have block and things like that, which can be very annoying. So, anyway, I'm not going to go over the rules of Blood Bowl here. We'll do that in another video. but it's football with ultra violence. Um, and it's I go and move all of my stuff, and then you go and move all of your stuff. There are touchdowns, there's handoffs and passes, and each team has its own version, right? It has their own version of play. So humans like to pass and so on and so forth, but your dwarfs or your bash 'em up teams and chaos and everybody has kind of a different style. I believe not for sure. I mean, there's a bunch more teams in the almanac book and stuff like that than there are in the in production that are been produced, I think. But looked at Games Workshop's website. I think there's 14 teams available there. It's about $35 a team. Now, know that you may not get the optimal team from that package. It may. I think I missed a whole spot here. It may not be the optimal team for you, but you can get a full team for $35. You might be able to trade for it. Well, that's what I was saying earlier, Tristan. We're looking to start up a league again, so we definitely get in touch with you about that. When you play leagues in Blood Bowl, I mean it's a long. You can make it as many weeks as you want, but you gain skills, lose skills, etc. depending on how you perform. You can get star players. I mean it's really in depth. It's one of the things I like most about it is it's very in depth. And Peyton, I'm sure that one of us has a team that we can get you started with also. All right. So I got most of my flesh tones done. I need to check one thing. Yes, and since GW is actually doing orders again, I need to check on these blitzers and see. I'm looking at the back. I'm trying to see if there's any spots that showed through on the flesh. That's all I'm looking to figure out. So, if anybody has any questions about Blood Bowl, please don't hesitate to ask. I apologize for the delay, but I have to make sure I get all the flesh tones. If not, I'm going to have a pain trying to get these finished. So I'm just looking up Blood Bowl Dwarfs on the Googles to get the pictures. And just finding the blitzers and hoping they have a 360 view of it. So I really want to see the back. All right, good. I think we're good. All right. So what I was looking at is to see awesome. Was looking at to see because I thought for sure that all of these dwarfs had their bellies showing because, as we know, dwarfs are pretty loosey-goosey when it comes to their clothing. So, except for the Caradron Overlords, which there's no skin showing. So, boom, ba da boom. Alright, so I gotta get underneath this dude right here. Sounds bad, but I do. And I need to get, I'm trying to find a line where his belly stops and his pants start. There really doesn't seem to be like a really defined line for that, unfortunately. And I think that's because him belly done lapped over him belt. So we're going to wing it here. I'm gonna give a little bit there. Nice little layer. And then this is going to be the fun part. And this is why you'll find a bunch of people who are proponents of painting before assembly. I didn't assemble these guys, but I'm pretty sure that some of these parts were more accessible before it was painted, or before it was assembled. So, and I don't even think his belly comes, or his skin tones come back as far as I placed them. So, anyway. Yeah. So I was wrong about a lot of this stuff. Because I painted skin tones on places that didn't need skin tones. Because the blitzers are more clothed than I thought they would be. See, because I could have swore that that was going to be... I know this is great YouTube content here, but I could have swore that that was skin. Alright, so the only skin that shows on these guys, I put way too much skin tone, is the belly and the head. Everything else is, and I think part of his arm in the back. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't even think that's the case. Yeah, there's a little break in the armor back here, but not much. So I have way too much skin tone on this model. Anyway, the rest of it's clothing, which is kind of odd. Alright. So we'll get into that in a minute. So before I switch paints, I need to let that dry for a second. And pop this one in here. I need to get, that's a little off. I need to get back to my chat here. I'm just going to reopen that. All right, so yeah. So if anybody sees anything that's wrong, if the audio's bad or if the video goes bad, let me know. This is going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. So we have a lot of stuff here. So bear with me. Looks like all right. Before I put this flesh tone away, which like I said, I got way more on these models than I needed. I know. And so I'm just going down here and trying to get the belly portion. And because of the way the beards are on these guys, I'm not going to be able to 100% get it. I just got to get what's seen. Like I said, I'm not a studio painter, but I like to have a little bit more than, a little more detail than what's necessary. We're going to let some of this go. I'm just going to hold this real quick because it's one small part. I want to make sure I get, it's just one small part. I'm going to put like a second layer on this one. And we see we're just trying to bring it. So we're primed in black. We're trying to make sure that the black's not showing through. I'd like to get Tristan on here to paint some, or to do some painting on camera, because I don't know about the technique, but what turns out in the end is always good, in my opinion. Some better than others, obviously, because nobody's perfect, but he does a really good job. We want to make sure to keep our brushes. There was Tristan saying he'd dry it back. That's okay. Welcome to anybody else who's coming in now, who hasn't been in before. If you have any questions, please let me know. We're painting Blood Bowl Dwarves. I'm working on my blitzers right now, which I just found out have less flesh tone than I've already painted on them. And that's always good, right? It's always good that you put more of a color on a model than you need. More on a model than you need. Alright, I think we're well and covered there. So on the left of the screen, it's the troll slayers that I painted, the last troll slayer that I painted in a couple of different views. And I have it there to kind of show the color scheme that I'm working with. Okay? As you can see with all of these, all of the dwarfs, they have a little belly showing. Nothing wrong with that. Letting your fat flag fly. I love dwarfs and gnomes and goblins. Which is weird because I'm like 6'4", but I like the little peoples. Alright. So we got our flesh tones done. And there's going to be thick dwarfs. That is correct, sir. That is correct. Thick voice. Peyton, you're there. Is the audio good? Y'all hear me okay? So I'm going right now. Well, these are our two that we're working on. And I'll go ahead and slot. Go ahead and put this guy in here. Because what we're going to do next once I do a color, I like to finish that color up. So I'm gonna put some quick shade flesh wash on this, and what it does is kind of brings out the definition in the skin tone. It's kind of like I use on the beards. If you look on the beards and the dwarfs here, I used a strong tone on it, but you can see where all the braids and everything are. Sorry, you see the braids and all that stuff. That brings out the washes are a fast way to bring out definition, and some people will say, you know, highlights are better and so on and so forth. Well, I'm sorry, I barely have time to do what I do now, so it's just gonna have to work. So I'm shaking this up. There's no need in shaking things before we get started. So while I'm shaking this up, does anybody have any questions about Blood Bowl or any topics, suggestions for topics of what to talk about while I paint? I know a topic I can talk about while I'm waiting for someone to suggest another one, and that is the fact that we are 40 minutes into this and I've got a little bit of flesh tone done. And that's because I was ill prepared, even though I took the time to try to get prepared. But it's just the way it goes, sir. The way, ladies and gentlemen, it's the way it goes. All right, let me get my brush out of here. Give it a little dry, a little bit of pulp. I don't want it too dry because I want a little bit of wetness. I'm using a wet palette. I'll bring it into screen so you can see. It's one that I made from a YouTube video or whatever. So it's like a Tupperware, little cheap Rubbermaid Tupperware type container. Some sponges, just cheap sponges, and parchment paper. And I don't like to get it parchment paper, you know, get it too much water in there, but you want enough to where it continues to keep the paint moist. And here's because of the issue with like a dry palette is you only have so much time to work with the materials before they dry out, and you have to use more paint. Also, if it dries out, then you get a brush full of it half dry, and then next thing you know, you've got like crusty paint on your model. And we don't want that. And Tristan has returned. Welcome back. So as you can see, I'm just not lightly coating it. I'm trying to get the flesh wash on the flesh tone spots, namely his head right now. And what we're trying to do here is just bring out some of the definition in the lines around on his head. It'll be around his eyes and, you know, muscles and whatnot. Around the hands, we want to make sure there's detail and some thickness in or some definition between the fingers. All right, good. I'm glad the audio is good. But anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little bit more on this guy. And you don't want it to pull in. I mean, you want it to kind of pull a little bit in some of the things that you want to define. But like right now, his eyes, I mean, there's just a ton of it in there. So if you drop the brush a little bit and just spread it around a little bit more. Anyway, so what I like to do with washes, if I really want definition, is to apply it, let it dry. I'm getting here on the belly. When I apply it, let it dry, and then apply it again. The beard, I think, took on the Troll Slayers took like 3 or 4 coats before it was where I wanted it. Thick. Yep, thick. Well, I see Peyton and Tristan talking. Is there anybody else in there? I don't know if it counts me as a viewer or not on my... Well, it does on my phone, which I'm using to follow the chat because for some reason it won't come up on the computer. Really got to get some more on there, David. But anyway, so we're going to apply this in the places that we need to have flesh, which I think on this dude with the helmet, there aren't many places. Put a little bit down in there. It kind of depends on your play style, Peyton. So, if you're looking to get a team, to be honest with you, I would wait on buying one because I know that I have a couple so that you can try. So we can try the humans, finish up a couple things that we started, and we have an Underworld Denizens team. There's my Dwarves. There's a few. Oh, I also have a Nurgle team. And Tristan, I think you have at least 2, if not 3, right? So, but it depends on your play style. So, your elves are a lot more, your elves are a lot more agile. The dark elves are a little bit more devious. They have some more devious characters. The dwarves are basically a beat down team. They just beat the crap out of everybody that they come in contact with. And that's about it. They try to injure people. The humans do a lot of passing, but they're a little more, I don't want to say brittle, so on and so forth. There's a bunch of new ones out too. The giants, they got the ogres or whatever. I think they're ogre ones. Those are pretty cool. They put out the actual official Lizardman team. There's 14 teams out there. Okay. And Tristan says he might disappear for a little bit. But so it really depends on whether you want to be like a passing team or you want to be more of a kind of stall the ball beat down team. And I'm not a 100% expert on Blood Bowl, so I would definitely look around. If you don't already have it, Blood Bowl 2, the halfling team. But if if Blood Bowl 2 on Xbox, PlayStation 4, or Steam, is a real good place to try out teams because it basically works the same and has the same statistics as the tabletop game. And a lot of times they'll run sales on it too, where you can get like it and all of its expansions for next to nothing. And I'm just waiting for this to dry so I can put another layer on it. But if you look at the stuff that was painted in flesh tone that didn't get, or that was painted with just the flesh paint and what got the flesh tone, you can see the difference. Right there. It's just a difference in, there's a little definition in the cracks and crevices. So I'm just waiting for those to dry up a little bit. Then we can put some more on it. As a matter of fact, while we're waiting, we can do a little more painting. I hate for y'all to sit around and watch, you know, me do nothing while I'm just waiting on stupid things like that to dry. Yeah, well, and Blood Bowl 2, yeah, Blood Bowl 2, you can do the same things in Blood Bowl 2 as you can on the tabletop as you can do in the video game. It's just the boxes that you buy, the 35, $35 boxes are just like that. Will get you a team thing, and because because of the fact that in my opinion, they want you to buy more boxes. You gotta put a little bit more into if you want to get an optimal team. So a lot of times when you're looking for an optimal team for any race in Blood Bowl, you're gonna on the tabletop you're gonna have to buy at least 2 boxes, or you might have to buy a big guy, and those are usually Forge World models. I know that Games Workshop does have a couple of big guys, but most of that stuff is Forge World, like the Death Roller for the Dwarves. You know, that's a Forge World model, and you're talking about quite a bit more money. There really are some other sources for those types of things, if you don't mind knockoffs. But I don't know any, so I'm just saying they are out there. And also another big thing about Blood Bowl, custom models are a thing, right? I mean, if you're playing, I guess there's some people or some tournaments or whatever that are like you have to use GW stuff, but a lot of the community is really big about customizing, kit bashing, or taking other models to represent, especially since if it's a team that they don't have a box set for. I know that, yeah, it's conversions. That's what it was. So you're converting models, and so I know before they put out the Lizard Men out, that Brent got just took his regular Seraphon and made a team. You know, converting a few things or not converting a few things. You know, I saw one the other day that was really cool. I wish I had the picture to throw up right now, and I should have before I started this. Put it up so I could bring it up, but there was I want to say it was a Chaos team. I think it was a Chaos team, but it was like themed, kind of like what is the Egyptian looking War 40K 1,000 Suns? Yeah, we can definitely do some video stuff on conversions and stuff like that too. Yeah, so they had like a Chaos team that was like painted up almost 1,000 Sunish, but it didn't use a single Blood Bowl model. It was like there was some 1,000 Sun models and so on and so forth that they used, but it turned out to be pretty cool. I saw it and I was like, what is that? How did they make that? Because it looked really good. But there wasn't a single official Blood Bowl model in it. It was all converted from 40K model. What the hell? I turned that crap off. it looks like it's back up. Give me a second to fix my damn camera. Apparently it decided that it didn't want to keep my zoom and all of that. So that's nice of it. And it went back to autofocus. Focus this. Listen here, you piece of crap. That is a weird coloring. On my screen here, it looks really weird. Alright, anyway. Now that that's done, we can get back to what we were doing here. Alright, if you guys can see everything, let me know that it's back to good. But as far as I see it, we are up and running. And let me know if the video's good, if it's out of focus any or any of that stuff. Okay. Anyway, so I got my blue on the wet palette now. You see my beautiful arm going over to that. Okay, cool. Looks good. So, just mixing a little paint around here. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go... Actually, the blue paint is not what I needed, but I already got it on the palette, so let's go ahead and put it on the model. What I really needed to do was the gray. So if you look at the picture of the Troll Slayers on the left, the back, the one that shows the back of them, it is gray on their pants. And the Troll Slayers, they basically wear their pads without any other, materials on. So their pads are basically just on their skin. They don't have any undershirts or anything like that. So, because they're savages. And these guys and all the other guys, it looks like, most of the other guys anyway, actually have shirts on under their pads. So if we're going by the layering up method, then we should have done their clothes first. So their shirts first and pants. But that's okay. We're crazy and wild here. We just do what we want. Arm cam, yeah. Exactly. Everybody loves the arm cam, don't they? Alright. So, I don't want to do too much. See, that's the problem. I need to use the blue, and on the wet palette it'll stay wet for a while, so not too concerned about it. I know his helmet has a lot of blue on it. So we're just gonna get in there. Yeah. Like I said, when you're painting the lower layers, don't worry about going over. Like right here, there's a lot of ornamental stuff that's going to go on here. If you make it thin layers, you're not going to mess up any of the other stuff on it, and you'll be able to go over those ornamental different colored layers without a problem. But you definitely don't want the paint to be, you don't want to go too thick on it because you'll lose detail. I talk a lot about painting and what to do, and that's all my opinion. I showed Tristan the basics of what I know about painting, and he just took it and ran with it with his own style, and that's what I suggest anybody do who paints. Is practice. Develop your own style of painting. Some people are really fast at it, like Nick has developed his own style of painting. I don't know if he got it from somewhere or if he just kind of, over years of wargaming and painting things, if he just, developed his way. But it's pretty down and dirty, quick and easy method. So, and the other thing you'll see here on one of the cool things I think about painting is how things shape up as you go. Because if you look at the blue that I'm putting on these right now, I mean, it doesn't look awesome. Like it's like, oh, there's blue on it. And like I say, I'll repeat over and over again. It's better to do a number of thin layers than one thick layer. So just make sure that you're taking your time. Yeah, Sharp's going to be opening back up real soon. They had a post on Facebook not too long ago. So they're going to be open back up and ready to go. As a matter of fact, they may already be back up. Because it was supposed to be early this month, I think. So might want to check on that. Might want to check on that. And if they're not open, Gordon at the Kingdom of Cards, does have the accounts to order those types of things too. May not have it on the shelf right now, but like with the shop, I mean, you can get a lot of things. So. Yeah. Yeah. They're putting out a bunch of cool models. They're putting out a bunch of cool models. I need to look at this too, but I'm pretty sure I can go ahead and blue that part. My old eyes are getting me as of late. So I'm going to put some blue there. I'm not sure how far the blue goes in on these bracers, so I'm going to have to look at the picture of it. So it might go on this weapon, I should say. So it might just go a little bit in. And that's one of the reasons why we should be doing the gray instead of the blue. So. Alright. I'm just pulling up this picture. So that I can get an idea where we're going here. I'm not wanting to paint it like the Games Workshop, but the Games Workshop painted models give a good idea of where all the lines are. Yeah, Death is good. There is a Death Blood Bowl team if you like that particular race or faction. And there are vampires. There's a I don't know that they have the team actually out, but you can model one. There's a vampire Blood Bowl team in the almanac, or in the almanac. So might be something to look into. So I'm pulling up the Blitzers here again, so I can get an idea of where the different parts go, the different colors. Okay, so our bracers do go around. Okay, I can see it now, and I'm also wanting to see where. That's another thing that I didn't think about with these is I think, yeah, I have the almanac here, and if you want, that's another purchase if you really want to get into Blood Bowl that I would look into, either digitally as their inaugural almanac. There's two other almanacs. The 2018 almanac would be okay, I think, to get. But the 19... Okay, so the inaugural almanac is the one that I have that we had at the shop, and it shows a lot of the it shows all the league rules, etc. The excuse me. The 2018 almanac has some of the Spike magazines, Spike Journal, for like not the last three, but the three or four factions before that they released. That's another cool thing I like about Blood Bowl too. I mean, it's not the best stuff, but it's really cool that you can get Spike magazine or Spike Journal, which is like a magazine based on Blood Bowl. It's really cool. The orcs are really good. And the cool part about orcs is that you can buy orcs, or if you want to buy the just a Blood Bowl game and get all the pieces and stuff, it's like 115, and it comes with humans and orcs. So, you can split the humans off with someone or whatever, but you'll get dice and tokens and stuff. Your dice are $15 by themselves because they are special dice. So right now I'm shaking up some uniform gray. If we look at my Troll Slayers, you can see that the gray on their pants is there. Actually, let me switch back over to my OBS so I can see. We're going to move this window open so we can see what's going on. So I can see my picture as well. We want to see what we got here, but we also want to, you know what? I can do that. And then do that. Cool. So, if you look on my Troll Slayers here, you can see the gray pants. Well, on these guys, the gray is a part of. Everything's a little bit more. Oh, sorry, a little bit more involved on these, on these guys. So your blitzers have gray will go on their pants down to a certain point, and then if you look up in here, the gray goes for a shirt that's half open where you see their bellies, but you have a shirt up here and then a belt that comes around that holds on the little jug there, and so on and so forth. The other thing on this one's going to be different than the Troll Slayers. The Troll Slayers aren't wearing shoes because, once again, they're savages. And but these guys wear cleats, so I got to paint cleats and socks for that matter. So we're probably going to go with like just a matte white on the socks and dingy them up a little bit. Like I said, I don't like to use a ton of. I know. Okay. I loved. Okay, talking about Warcry. I loved the kill team thing because you could use models that you already owned, or you could buy just the infantry guys, right? So it wasn't big models. There were some exceptions of some of the larger models, like the Tyranids. You get the warriors or whatever. There was some, but mostly it was just infantry guys. And that was really cool because, like I said, if you already had a bunch of like TAC Marines and Primaris, Marines, stuff like that, a bunch of different things, you could build a kill team out of it. But it also, for GW's benefit, had people who may not have played Warhammer, played 40K, they could get into it, on a smaller scale, and then build up. So you can take those things that you bought for Kill Team and build up. Warcry, it is just a separate thing. Okay? It's a separate thing altogether in Warcry. You can't just take models. I guess you could convert some models or whatever, but it's like you have to buy their Warcry models to make your teams. So I don't know. If you're gonna make, I guess you can consider Warcry a box game because Kill Team did have some box stuff, but I like the fact that you could use some things. They brought some new stuff with Kill Team, and that was cool. But you had the option, you had the option. I understand their business; they got to make money. Do not get me wrong. I understand that wholeheartedly, but they could have done Warcry, I think, with the AOS models instead of having their own Warcry specific models, and I think it would have been okay on both sides. It would have been okay for the customer and okay for them also. I don't think they had to go and make it mandatory that you buy some Warcry stuff. So, like I said, Kill Team was fun because you could take some things that you might have not been using anymore and repurpose them, or stuff you already had painted that you don't, or stuff that you hadn't painted yet. You had a new motivation to paint it up for something other than 40K. So say you did like a lot of people do and started off with Space Marines, right? A lot of people start with Space Marines in 40K. You could have went from that. You could have, and then you decided that you wanted to try something else. You want to go with like, orcs or Tyranids or something like that. And your Space Marines are just sitting there gathering dust. Well, guess what? Kill Team comes out. And you now have the ability to reuse those models again. Yeah, Harlequins are ridiculous. And I haven't kept up with it that much. I've been kind of focusing on some other games that aren't GW. But, you know, I liked Kill Team. I thought it was really cool. I liked the skirmish model and all that stuff. And the detail either got washed off of or washed out by the primer on this one or something, because it is not there on that side. So I'm kind of going a little instinctively here as to where that part ends and the other begins, because I do not see a line on that actual pair of pants as to where it stops and the socks begin. And if I spin this around here, I'm just trying to, there you go. Yeah, they go down pretty far, and there's like a knee pad on the inside one. They're supposed to be, but I'm not seeing it at all. Maybe that's the other dwarf, or the other one. No, I don't see it on that one either. That's weird. Now I see it on the inside leg of that one, but I do not. Oh, hold on, maybe. I think I see it. I don't know. We'll make it work. But anyway, you just, I don't know. You had more options with Kill Team. To like I said, use models that you hadn't used in a while. And I know, like I said, that's not a good business model in some ways. Like I said, they brought new stuff out and people bought it. But my biggest problem with GW as a whole is if it's not 40K, well, first of all, we can just say if it's not 40K, you might as well forget it, because Age of Sigmar does get some love, but 40K gets the biggest portion of it. Is that they put out these awesome, what they call boxed games, and they consider Blood Bowl a box game, and then they just stop supporting them. So, like right now, let's look at Blood Bowl. So if you go on their website right now, you have one. See, this is going to be a pain in my butt. You have one version of the Blood Bowl dice, and that's this like red kind of clear version. And when you used to have versions of the Blood Bowl dice for each team, each faction. Now I know that puts a strain on production when you have to have all these different colors and designs of dice. But you should at least have put on there, we're only going to do these for a limited time or something like that. So people didn't think, oh, I'll get those elf ones later. And they get the money together and go to buy a couple sets of dice for teams they don't use as their primary, and you can't get them. Now, the other thing I like about Blood Bowl is the secondary market's pretty cool. You have a lot of guys out there making models that can be used as certain models in Blood Bowl. So that's always good. You got guys out there making models for teams that GW hasn't got around to yet. That's pretty cool. I'd like to give a little plug to a podcast I listen to, and they're like way bigger than we are as far as a channel or anything. But I like podcasts. It's Both Down podcast. Those guys are kind of local. They're Oklahoma, I think. At least one of them is. I think they both are. And we're in Arkansas. So that's pretty cool. And they're also fans of SRG Super Show, which I'm a big fan of. And speaking of places to go and stuff like that, the Kingdom of Cards has one of my rings and my extra decks and stuff over there if anybody wants to learn how to play Super Show if they haven't already. Really like Super Show, as Peyton and Tristan can attest to. And if you're having any trouble seeing what I'm doing a little bit, or kind of, I mean, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be able to get like right up in my eyeball line here or whatever, but hopefully you get to see enough of it to enjoy. And I mean, at the risk of sounding, sounding conceited or full of myself, maybe learn something. So, like I said, what I'm doing here is these particular dwarfs actually wear clothes under their pads. So, I'm painting those clothes. And when I stop like a little bit at a time here, it's because I'm trying to see exactly where the lines are, because sometimes the black, these are primed in black, and it isn't even just black. Like sometimes the primer is all one color, makes it hard to see where the lines are. So I'm just using my I'm just using the GW website and pulling up their painted models, not for the color scheme, but for to help me find the lines. Once again, since we're working on a lower layer of the clothing, we just hit the spots that we need to hit, and if we get a little on the rest of the model, that's okay. So we're just trying to get all the clothing spot, all the shirt spots and stuff like that. Once again, we can go back over the blues and those other colors later. Just want to get these painted up as best we can. And as I always say, if anybody wants to look close enough to see where you missed a little tiny spot or something like that, tell them to look closer and then smash their head into the model. Pull a Joker, like in The Dark Knight. I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Whack! And then it goes into his eyeball. Always works for me. See, and we did a little boo-boo there and got a little gray paint on his belly. We'll just touch that up later. We're going through kind of like the final touches. There's always room to touch up. And as you can see already, just a few colors put on, everything's starting to come together. I need to paint this little part right here. My dogs are going nuts for some reason, but that's okay. I'm a human being. I have a life. It's not just all videos for me. So it'd be cool if it was. But I like to paint a lot. Yeah, they are something else. But we have 5 of them and they can get loud. So when you're looking at like behind the beard and stuff, sometimes it's hard to get all the little parts and stuff. Just kind of look through the beard and see if it's going to really show that much, which I doubt it will. Like I said, you can see just with a couple of colors, we're starting to get some definition to the model. We're starting to see some of the parts of it coming together. We're starting to see where the different parts of the model show. And that's hard to see whenever you're just like black or gray primer. So you can see his belly showing. There's that. This part that I colored gray right about there, that's actually a strap, and we'll be going over those with a different thing. Probably one of my favorites, which is called Dark Stone. It's called Dark Stone, but it makes for a pretty good leather substitute. So I like that. I think we're on this one. I think we're pretty much done with the gray. And I'm sure we'll find a spot where it's not done and then I'll have to go back and fix it. But for the most part, I think we are done with that gray on this model. And it'll get touched up on the bottom too when we go to do the sock and the cleats. So I'm going to pop this one out and go ahead and do the grays on this one. Since we have the gray out. Don't want to waste the paint. Except the palette will keep it pretty wet. But it also can add a little bit more water than you want. A little bit more than you want. So we want to make sure that we use it up before we let it sit there and get too diluted or whatever. So I'm just going over the grays here. On this on this model. And you can see on this one I didn't start the blues and whatnot yet. So I can get into some of these cracks and crevices with the gray where it's supposed to be. And I might go over onto the pads or whatever, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to go over those anyway. You don't want to go too crazy, then you got a lot of, well, actually it doesn't matter. As long as you cover what you're trying to cover, you can always go over it with another color later. Yeah, dogs are ready for blood sport. Okay, so we're gonna get this gray too. And I learned a lot of painting stuff from a lot of people. And like I said, I won't say that I know everything there is to know about painting. But I learned a lot from a lot of people. And I just realized that there's a couple places I should have painted gray. And the other one I didn't get to either. So, but anyway, I'll go back and get those. But you can never be a feel that you're too good to learn something about anything, to be honest with you. But as it pertains to what I'm talking about now, you're never too good at painting to learn something new, a new technique, or something like that. I mean, there's always someone out there who knows more, who can teach you something that'll either make it easier for you or make your models look more like you want them to look. I don't want to say better because I think better is subjective, you know, to who's looking at it. Some people really like certain styles and some people like other styles. So I won't say it'll make it look better, but it can help you to make it look more like you want it to, and that's what's important. What's important at the end of the day when you get through painting is that the model looks the way you wanted it to. I think I might have got a little too much, a little too thick on that one. But it'll be all right. And I think we need a little bit more paint in there. I might have to let that dry a little bit and then go back over it because that's where I had the flesh tone before when I thought it was flesh, supposed to be flesh there. And it wasn't. So we'll let that dry a little and then go back over it. Yeah, because I can see a little bit of the flesh showing through because it's a little thin. Okay. But looks like we have covered most of this stuff. We just need to go for the pants now. Little butt paint. Everybody needs a little butt paint every now and then. And once again, I'm kind of glad that I went a little differently on this one as far as when I went for the blue layers earlier before I hit the grays, because it gives you an idea of how much different it looks layering up. So right now I have like the grays going, but the blues aren't there. So the flesh tones are what's differentiating between the colors right now. And then you'll get to see once we're done with this, when we go back to the blue, you'll get to see what difference it makes as the blue goes on. And you'll be able to see it better. There are going to be a lot of details on this model, like I said in one of my other hobby Hobby Backlogs. There's going to be a lot of things in these models that you're going to see. And when you go and look, if you've already looked online, you've already seen it. But I'm not much of a highlighter. When you might add, a lot of people go back and put a lighter color on top, like in the little ridges and raised surfaces. I'm not that guy. I'm also not the guy that, when you look on the where the butt paint is here, you can see that there are some like stitches and stuff on his pants. Nope, not doing that either. And it's not that I don't think that they should be done, or they shouldn't be done. If you want to do them, that's fine. If you want to take the time to do, like, you know, painting contests, you know, 3 months on one model type paint jobs, more power to you. I love looking at them. I'm just not going to do them. I'm just not going to do it. Because I don't have the time. Like I said, I appreciate those things. I love to look at them. Love to go places like Cool Mini or Not, or look at the Golden Demon entries and etc. All the painting contest entries. Love to look at them, and I'm thoroughly impressed by them, you know, the majority of the ones that come out towards the top of the heap. So I won't knock them at all. Like, those guys put a ton of work into those things. But I'm painting these to play with, not to put on a shelf. So I think they need to look cool. People can be like, oh, that's cool how you painted that. But if they pick them up and they're looking too close at them, that's bad. That will change, Tristan. That will change. But enjoy it while you got it that way. Are you guys still playing your D&D games and stuff? So we're almost done on this one with the gray. And I think we'll get a couple spots that we need to go back over again because the coverage wasn't all that great from the paint for some reason. It looks like we got it that time. There we go. All right. And also, I missed another color on the layering up process. And that's going to be the dark stone I talked about. There's like straps and whatnot. There are some places where that crosses over these, but there's also, you know, before you do the blue. So because your dark stone's going to go up, and we're going to, where they normally have like a gold, we're using the dark stone because I don't like fancy pants dwarfs with all the gold. I like down to earth dwarfs. So take that. Down to earth, in the middle of the earth, in the center of the earth, down mining, those types of dwarfs. So no fancy pants dwarfs here. There's no room for them. Alright, looks like we're all grayed up. I do want to get just a little more gray on the edge of this. One of those details some people wouldn't go to, and normally wouldn't just be like, you have to do that. But if there's an edge on it, might as well go ahead and do it. So it shows like a definition between that, between the two things. But because of that, I got a little bit of, oops, we got arm cam again. We got a little bit of gray on our flesh tones. We need to get that off of there. So I just so happen to have I just so happen to have put way too much flesh tone on my palette. So I have a little extra, so I'm going to get that gray spot off of there. I mean, that's close enough. There's a couple little spots right in here I'd also like to cover up some gray on. Oops. That brush went a little crazy on me. I'm still not getting that, so let me, it's like, you gotta get the right angle on it. It's just slightly, there we go. Much better. It's like one of the few flesh parts that comes out from under the shirt. Alright, so done that touch up there. While we have the flesh tone out, we want to make sure we don't need to touch up anything. Flesh tone on this guy, and it looks like we might need to get a little bit right there. Yeah, I think that'll do. Alright. Get a good wash on this brush. Alright, so this guy, the blues, I'm gonna make sure I get all that flesh tone and gray out of here. And then we're going to go over the blues on this one because it looks cool. Alright, so anyway, so we need to get well, thank you, Tristan. Like I said, some people say that I take too long with it, but I really like to, it has to look a certain way for me. Like I said, that's what's important about painting. Not that everybody else thinks it looks good, but that you do. Now, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have people tell you that looks cool. But give me 1 second here. I'm just replying to a message real quick. All right. So anyway, some people would think that I take too long with it, but so what matters is that it turns out the way that I want it. But I thank you for your compliment. All right. I'm trying to decide while I paint this whether I'm just going to go... See, the Troll Slayers don't have these extra... around the bottom of the pads, they don't have the extra layers. Their pads are pretty much solid. So I'm deciding right now whether I should stop with the blue, go ahead and do all the... I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop with the blue on this one real quick because I'm going to have to redo some blue on the other one when I do this part. So basically, I don't like all the gold that they put on these dwarfs. Yeah, I understand that might be lore accurate or whatever you want to call it, but I really like the style that I've done with these. So if you look at the Troll Slayers on the left, I really like that style, that color scheme. So really like that color scheme, so I'm going to stick with it. So here's what I'm talking about now. Okay. And when it comes to like fine stuff, like I have this brush here, and it's pretty decent size on the way up the brush, but the point's pretty good. And then you can go and maybe use a brush like this. And Tristan knows exactly what I'm doing. I'm putting the brush in my mouth because I have yet to find a better way to do that, to get the point back on a brush. So Tristan does it, and a lot of people do it. So you can go with a smaller brush like this when it comes to these other details around, and that sometimes helps. But what we're going to do here is I have my dark stone. I'm using the Army Painter paints because I have some GW paints as well. I'm not a fan of the pots that they come in, so maybe one day I will get some Army Painter bottles and pour them all in there and mark them. But for right now, it's whatever. So I'm going to shake this dark stone. And we're going to go and... It's a horse apiece, basically. So if I go around these little edges with dark stone, because that's what color they need to be, and then do the straps and stuff like that. And then when I do the blue, I have to be careful not to go over the edges. But there is a distinct edge there, so it's not as hard. And then I can touch up after. If I do all the blue and then try to do the dark stone, it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt to stay on target. So we're going to want to, I don't know if you can see that. So these little edges. So I'm going to go ahead and just shake up the dark stone and do the edges first. And I guess technically I could do it both ways, so that, well, actually I can do it on this other model so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you look at this blitzer, the blue is basically done. I mean, it probably needs another coat, but on the shoulder pads. So if I go and take even this smaller brush and I try to go around these edges like this, okay? Anytime I go over and hit this blue, I'm going to have to go back with the blue and hit it. And sometimes it can become a vicious cycle where you're like, oh, I hit that. Oh, I hit that. Then you go back and forth, back and forth. So I'm going to try on this one, since I haven't done a lot of the blue, on the other one, on this one, to go ahead and just do these outlines and then go over it, then go and then do the blue and see if it comes out any better. So sometimes you can get more definition that way. Because if you do it on this side, you get a little bit onto the blue parts, this bigger part, it looks choppy. So we'll see. See how it turns out. So I'm still shaking up, shake them up, shake them up, shake them this color, this dark stone color. I mean, some people will say I'm full of it, but I'm a firm believer that you can't shake it enough. Oh, I'd rather overshake it than undershake it and have watery paint. So now that I've shaken it up, I'm going to clean this tip of it off here because it's oozing. Alright, and we're going to put a little dab of it there. Other thing I like about bottles as opposed to pots is that you have a little more control of how much you put on the palette, in my opinion. That's exactly what it is, my opinion. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're not going to worry too much about, I mean, we want to try to keep it on the edges. But if we go over, we're not going to have a fit. All right, so we're going to go around the edges. And it's a subtle difference, but once it's a subtle line, if you put gold on there, you can see it really well. And I think that's why they do it, a lot of times why they do it on the studio model, the website studio models. It stands out. And all the details get a little bit brighter on them. Or they are brighter because it's gold. But I kind of like, especially with dwarfs, I'm telling you. And I know they mine and all that stuff, but I think that dwarf should be just a little more down to earth than they are sometimes portrayed. So we're going to go around, like I said, as you can see, I'm hitting some things I probably shouldn't, but I can touch those up after. So we're just getting the dark stone on the edges. And we're going to go ahead and bring the dark stone around this part here too, or also. I'm also going to go around, let's see if we can get, and I hope y'all can see this, it's hard to get in as close as you possibly can, or too close on these, and still be able to paint. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to get this dark stone around these edges. And it looks a little messy now, but once we get the blue on there, it'll clean up. I will also say that my 40-plus-year-old eyes make this difficult sometimes, but I bought a magnifier, and man, it gives me a headache. So I might work with getting used to it at some point, but right now I'm not a big fan of it. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, cool. I think we've got that part down now. Since we already have the dark stone out, we're going to go and get our straps. So there's a strap that comes right down here. And it goes all the way around. Once again, looks like I made a little bit of overage there, so I'm going to have to go back and touch up the gray. But I'd rather put a couple of dabs of other color here and there. And once again, unless you're going to look at it with a magnifying glass, it doesn't have to be perfect. And this goes back behind that jug. That's on his hip. Which, before I started painting this, I've played a few games of Blood Bowl with this team, and never did I ever see that jug. So that's that. I didn't see it. All right. Don't be afraid to ask questions or just talk, because I am just, as you can see, just painting away, trying to get these dwarfs done. I think one of the hardest parts about painting miniatures, and like I said, older eyes may be different from younger eyes, but is seeing where the separations are on the models themselves. So, I mean, like where the strap meets the shirt or whatever the case may be. So. And sorry if you can't see that. And I can't express enough. I mean, some people really love to just paint with holding the base of the model. And whatever works for you, works for you. but I can't express enough how much having a handle helps me, because it's not just about being able to hold it. I mean, I can hold this dude here. When I start to try to move him around, my finger might get in the way, or I have to really hold it at the tip. And yeah, it does that. But if you can just grab a hold of this handle, and you can turn it upside down, you can turn it sideways, this way, back and forth. You have a bit more control, and the model's not, you're not just holding on to the base. I think it's really important in ways, but that's just, once again, that's just my opinion and what I like. And like I said, you don't have to go buy a handle. This is a Citadel / GW handle. It works. Looks pretty good. Works pretty good. But, I mean, like I said, here's another one of mine. I do some wood turning every now and then, and I turned this on. It was a square block. I turned on my lathe to make it round, and I just use some poster tack and stick it on there, and it works the same way. Use empty medicine bottles. A lot of people do that. All right, so we have a strap going, and like I said, I'm going to have to touch up a couple of things on it. But it looks like we got all of our nope, because I wanted to use okay, so like I said, the one thing that these have that our other ones didn't are the cleats, the boots, the shoes, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so I'm going to use the dark stone. There's like a strap that comes across them, and there's like almost like a leather part that comes up the side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now this is going to cause a little bit of issue, kinda, because I don't know if it's so much of an issue, because I got to paint the socks on these guys. So we'll probably have to touch up the dark stone parts a little bit. But I wanted to get this part done because they're the toes of these are going to be in the blue color. So I wanted to line that out. And if anybody's having trouble seeing anything, if there's any adjustments I need to make, I'll try my best to do so y'all can see better. It's hard for me to tell what it looks like for y'all. Alright, it looks like, that wasn't very difficult. There wasn't a lot to cover there. So it's just like a strap that goes over, and then the blue part. Once again, very, I don't want to say muted, but, that's kind of what it is. It's very earth tony in a lot of ways. And the thing about these models is, the Dwarves is I really think that the beards should stand out quite a bit. So I think it's like a defining factor of a dwarf, right? This beard. So I kind of want everything else to be nice, but I want it to stand out. The beard to stand out a lot. So All right. So it looks like I've got I'm going to go ahead and put the dark stone on the other boot. Get this back kind of in the center of the screen here. I'm going to go ahead and get this dark stone where it needs to go. I'm trying to be careful, and I'm looking right now. There's going to be a real pain in my butt when it comes to doing these socks, because the shoes kind of go down around them, but that's okay. And kind of what I wanted to do with these anyway was I have the actual dwarf dice for these, and they're blue, like blue, gray, and white. So I kind of wanted to keep those colors on for these. So I'll look at his beard, because yeah, his hand is just like coming out the end of it, like inside of it. So when I go to paint and as you paint up on these colors, you're going to see, and while I have the dark stone, I'm just going to swap this out for this one so I can get the dark stone parts on this one too. And you'll see here as I paint these dark stone parts, the edges, you might be able to see what I was talking about earlier, where painting them first might be a better thing before you paint the blue, because every little bit that you get on the blue makes it look choppy, or it chops it up and makes it look like, you know, I don't know, like dirty or something, or it doesn't make it look very good. So as you can see, I've already just kind of, I try to keep it where I want, where it needs to be. But if I go over, I'm not going to cry about it, because I'm just going to redo the blue anyway. Yeah. Well, the Troll Slayer is cool. And people look at him and they say, is he standing on his beard? I'm like, no, he's jumping up in the air, and his beard is so massive that it's dragging the ground. You know? I just realized when I was doing these dark stone parts that there might be some other ones that I missed. But I'll have to look at it, because when it comes to the bracer parts, I take a little bit more, a little different color palette on those, but we'll see. Beard fling, yeah. Yeah, their beards are definitely a defining feature. And, well, I mean, depending on what lore you go with dwarves, I mean, a source of pride, right? So, you might be looked down upon as less of a dwarf if you don't have a beard. They can definitely do some damage, like in those old kung fu movies where the dude with the long braid just like starts smacking people around. I think the dwarfs would be kind of the same. Just start smacking people around. Okay, so here, I've come along. I've come to another thing that I see. And each one of these is different, a little bit different. So you're going to see different things. But I've come to see that I didn't get the gray in all the parts I should have on this one. Once again, these are things that you're going to see. And depending on how detailed you want to be, there's going to be touch-up, and there's going to be more touch-up and more touch-up. But my suggestion to you is once you get it close to what you're looking for, stop. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to get it perfect, quote unquote perfect. Because you will drive yourself crazy trying. See, like that belt. Yeah. See, I went too far on that one, but it's okay. Once it dries up, I can go over with the gray again. And these are very fine, like, little details, too. And how detailed you get, once again, is up to you. But, like, you look on the back of this guy, he has a belt that comes through and the strap that goes around, right? Like, right in there. But there's a little piece of cloth that's hanging out that's supposed to be gray. Right now, it doesn't look terrible, but you'll notice you put a little dab of gray on that little strip. It makes the world of difference when it comes to look how it looks. So, I hope everybody's not completely bored because nobody's talking. And we've come in between like 3 and 4 people at a time coming in, and I appreciate that. But these guys, you're gonna. I want to get to the beard portion tonight. I really like to complete these 2 tonight, but don't see that happening right away, right now. Because, well, it depends on how this rolls. I am talking and everything, so it makes a difference in the time it takes. And I really think that primer on this was a little thick. Either that or the model's not as detailed as it is on the site. So, whichever one. But I can't change it, so I'll just go with it. Because I'm not going to strip these and start over. So, I could. And Tristan, there's the old stripping down the model's master. Probably repainted a number of his models multiple times. The old simple green. So I'm just getting the what kind of looks like leather parts in the pictures online of the boots, because blue is next. So in the front half, the part that shows up front of the model is blue stripe, is a blue like the pads. So I want to get the dark stone stuff done so that when I put the blue on, it all stands out and looks pretty cute. What's really going to make it stand out is when I put the white for the socks, and that's going to be a pain in my butt, but it has to happen. I mean, I guess technically it doesn't have to happen, but it kind of does. So, all right, looks like we got all of our dark stone pieces there. Pieces parts. This guy needs one more dark stone pieces part that I didn't see on him before. If I can find it again. So it was something that I missed before. You can see on this guy that where the belt comes across in that little piece there. It's dark on him. Not a big deal, huge deal, but big enough that I need to fix it. Where was it? I was looking on this guy. That was dark stone. I didn't get on that guy. Hate when that happens. So I was just looking at it and I was like, yeah, I forgot that part. Oh, the belt on the back. Yeah. Yeah, these two little belt pieces. That you barely even see, really. But they're there. Could probably not even bother with them, but I would know they're not there. Wouldn't call myself OCD so much, but particular about certain things. So he also had one more little piece there. That part that needed to be done. But man, I think it looks pretty good. All right, it's all coming together. So, I already have blue on the palette, so let's go ahead and get that part done. Another thing that'll change, we have a blue tone that's going to go over all the blue parts, and that'll make it stand out a little bit more. You can kind of tell the difference between the Troll Slayer's blue pads a little bit, and the blue pads that are done on these guys. It's just a little bit, it's a subtle difference, but there's a little bit of difference because we put the blue tone over it. Probably could have used another layer or two of blue tone, but it will be fine. Because I say it will. Alright, so we're washing out our brush here to go ahead and start the blue parts. While I'm doing that, I'm trying to decide, and maybe we can make a suggestion. So this might be a little participation thing. So our Troll Slayers have the orange beards. And basically, each of the specialty positions, when it comes to the box art, shows a different color beard for each specialty. Like the Blitzers have a different color beard, and the the runners and so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to the Blitzers in here, they have black beards. And when I say black beards, it's kind of black, a little gray in it. That would require me to do highlighting, which I'm not real happy about having to do. Actually, I don't even have to highlight. I think I could get away with a dry brush over the black with a little bit of gray or white mixed together. And the runners seem to have blonde beards. And I guess the linemen are a mixture. So if anybody's watching who wants to make a suggestion, I really think that the black beards will work on these. And like I said, we could do like instead of trying to highlight all the strands or whatever, we could just do a dry brush. Tristan, if you're out there, what do you think? Anybody else who's watching, what do you think? Do you have any thought about it whatsoever? But I think the Troll Slayers are the only ones that have orange beards. I don't even think any of the linemen have orange beards, so. Or the red, the ginger beards. They said the Blitzers have the. Well, actually, there's two different ones. One has like a grayish beard, like a blonde / grayish beard. There's another thing I want to do. I'd like to do like just a gray on one of them, on some of them, and then like wash it like a dark tone. That'd be kind of cool. All right, I'm not gonna sit and wait on a response, but I'll look for it. Right now, I am going to start to finish the blue, and with that, we're gonna switch to the brush and give you the arm cam again. I like this brush size. It has a load enough paint up on it, but it still has somewhat of a fine point at times. So, just gonna mix this paint up that we have already over here and start bluing. Now here's the thing. So now that we've done the, see, that's a little too, now that we've done the dark stone pieces, we have to be careful. Empty that out a little bit there. That paint was a little bit too watery. Okay, so now that we've done the dark stone pieces, or parts, when we go to put the blue on, it's exactly the opposite. We want to make sure we're only going to the edge and no further. But then again, you don't want the edge is a little different. So I'm trying to think of the best way to describe what I'm talking about. So there's like a little spot where it goes. That's considered the edge, because the dark stone part has like an indentation kind of thing there. So we don't want to leave too much off of that edge. So that'll be fine. And I really don't like the fact that that loaded up so much paint on that brush, or so much water, or so much liquid. But oh well. Now this one's a little bit more tedious, because we're going in between two dark stone parts. The dark stone that outlines the pad, and then the dark stone outlines the jewel. So I think that's a pretty good spot, and then I'm going to go ahead, like I did on some of the other ones, and make the jewel blue as well. Yeah, that paint is bugging me. It is a little too watery. So no suggestions on the beard colors, I see. Not seeing any suggestions for that. And that should dry okay, I think. I've gotten some of the excess out. Alright, now on this part, it looks like we should have had some dark stone on it, but we'll come back for that. We're going to go ahead and just blue it back to a certain point here. To cover up the gray spots that aren't supposed to be there. So. You really got to look pretty close on some of these spots because there is a definite space where what is blue turns into flesh, or what's blue turns into, you know, what I'm doing as stone, you know, takes over. So we want to make sure that we don't go over into those other areas. Got another gem here. We probably could have used a different color on them, but I think it'll be okay. So we got that part there. There's also a part on top that's a lot of blue. So we're going to go across it. And then we're going to go in and try to touch up the blues where our dark stone went over. Like I said, just take your time, and it's better to have a bunch of thin layers than one thick globby one. So make sure where y'all can see it. And when you're working with edges like this, you just kind of want to start a little further away and slowly work your way towards it, towards the edge. So, no big A. You get over the line in the dark stone and you just redo it, or put a little touch up on the dot that you missed. You don't have to redo the whole thing, just the spots that you messed up on, or that you got overzealous on. Let's not call it messing up. Don't want to steal from Bob Ross. Happy little accidents, that kind of thing. They don't exist here. Sometimes they do, actually. You make a mistake and then you're like, oh, that kind of looks good. And then you remember it for next time. But not often. Not often. Alright. It's really shaping up pretty good. Just trying to get all the little blue spots because there's a lot of area that could be blue. I'm trying to see how far this goes on his hand. Once again, you can use other paintings as reference to get lines. You can paint them exactly the way that they are. It's really up to you. Tristan painted his Nurgle team. I think it was a Nurgle team. Up as like circus clowns. I never would have thought to do that, but he did, and it turned out fantastic. So, you never know what might look good. You just never know. Alright, so looks like we got just, oh, no, I forgot the boots have blue on them. That we talked about just earlier. Once again, we got the dark stone sections that we already painted. Just start further away from them and ease on in. And ease up to it. I want to see what the bottoms of these look like. Fortunately, it's kind of cool because the website for GW, their web store, has 360 models, so you can actually look all the way around them. I think that's really cool. You can get an idea of where everything starts and stops. Another thing I gotta think about with these models is what I'm going to do with the bases. And the reason why I say that is because Camden based them already, and like I said, once again, not complaining. It just makes it a little bit to think about, you know, how you're gonna make it look, you know. So something else I gotta think about. I mean, I think I could just kind of go with the, take a look at the dwarven pitch, and go from there. Very chunky Batman. You know what? You're not wrong. You are not wrong on that one. Alright. So also need to blue up this bracer over here. But anyway, you're not 100% wrong, Peyton. The muted tones very much make these things feel kind of Batmanish. I really like the dark tones. And that was also the way that I was painting my sniper squad in Kill Team. Very muted, so a deep blue, the same color, and the dark stone. So very Batman-esque. So you're not incorrect about it, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna have to line out some of that flesh on that elbow, because I got some blue on it. Damn, I got some blue on the dark stone piece over there too, but oh well, we'll make it work. All right, so let me finish bluing this part. This is going to be one of those situations where I'm going to have to do some touch up because I got a lot of blue on here. All right, so we finished that up. Yeah, it's definitely Batmanish. All right. So that one's, as far as I can tell, all the blue's done. So we're gonna, like I said, kind of assembly line this. We're gonna put blue on this one. Once again, we've already done the dark stone, so we gotta be careful when we paint the blue that we're not just globbing it over onto the dark stone stuff. The other thing about these handles is that you can really steady the piece, if that makes sense. I don't know how I got that much flesh tone on that shoulder pad, but I did. So yeah, I'll probably have to touch up a little bit on the dark stone on this pad. But anyway, you really steady up the mini. So whether you are setting it up straight and holding it down, or setting it to the side, you can pin it down to something. You can do that when you're holding the base as well. You can hold it, but it really gives you a little bit more leverage to work with. Why is it important? It's because, you know, you want it steady while you're, especially when you're getting around fine details. You want to make sure that you don't kill them, kill the details, so and make more work for yourself. Because that's a lot. That's real easy to do, making more work for yourself with these things. So you just want to make sure you're getting to the edges on these. And remember, you don't have to be perfect on it the first time around. You can put another layer on it. As long as you're going kind of thin, you can always put another layer on it. It's not something I'm going to do, but I've seen people do it. with Blood Bowl figures, with Blood Bowl minis and some other minis. You really can. Oops, I'm off the screen. You can't see it. You really can give these things a little bit of character by going and either dry brushing or a little light splotching of dirt, of some sort of dirt color onto the pads, or if you have socks, like these guys have socks, you can really give it some detail with that. And I know what some people think and may think when they watch this later, if they're not watching live, is, man, it's going on 3 hours of painting and you're not even done with 2 dudes. My thought on that is, if you want to do it faster, do it. If you want to do it faster and your faster paint job looks better to you or looks good to you, do it. Nothing's stopping you. But I have a particular way I like these things to look. So unless I get it, I will play with these minis, and every time I see them, I will say that's just not quite right. This needs to change, that needs to change. And when I'm playing the game, I don't want to worry about my paint job. These are going to get finished. They're going to get like a varnish, like overcoat, clear coat, so that the paint doesn't get rubbed off while playing. And I don't ever want to think about painting them again. Little tip though, since this is just what comes in the box, in case you want to go more optimal paint scheme, or not paint scheme, optimal team. You want a few more linemen or more blitzers or whatever you can get on these. So you'll be buying more models. Write down what paints you used, please. You cannot do that and then end up wishing you did. Luckily, I have a pretty good memory with these things, so I remembered what I used on the Troll Slayers because it wasn't too terribly long ago. But it would have sucked to start painting and not have the same colors. So, something to think about. Usually, if you're familiar with the colors, you can eyeball it. No doubt, you can eyeball it. But once you start adding washes to stuff, the colors don't exactly look the same, etc., etc. So it just might behoove you to write it down. So I'm going to get the gem now on this back. And I'm sorry if I'm getting off screen here when it gets to the finer details. I'd like to get it in a certain position, and sometimes that's off camera. That gem looks pretty Jimmy. So we gotta get in the same spot we got before right here. It's a little tricky. So I'm gonna bring that up a little bit so I can see it a little bit better. There's like this fine line here. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and touch up the dark stone on this part, but I don't know how much I'm willing to do it. I know, and I thought about doing them all red beards, so I like them. But I don't know if that's... I haven't decided myself whether I think it's too much to have them all have red beards. And also, you haven't seen what the other colors look like yet, so that's another thing. Yep, definitely got to touch up the dark stone on those with the smaller brush. And this dude just wanted to make this extremely ridiculous by putting his whole hand, his whole arm inside of his beard. So that happened. I really like the red beards though. And I'm tempted, like I said, to just do them all red. Definitely tempted to do them all red. I really like the way they look. That is his beard. So yeah, so this dude decides to put his whole arm in his beard. So when I paint, I gotta find the parts that are bracer and the parts that are beard. I think I've pretty much got them that way. I've pretty much got all of that. Yep, looks like it. Alright, so that's blue, that's blue. Alright, so now we need to blue the boots. Blue his cleats. So one thing, so who's here besides Tristan and Peyton, and who votes for all red beards? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? We pretty much got that there. I'm just going to double check one more time on the blues. He has hair that matches his... Like, is there a spot there on that blue that needs to be touched up? I think so. Yeah. We can call, and we'll just change the team name. So it was the Teapots. because they're short and stout. But I think now we have to name them like Team No Soul. They're all going to be gingers. Looking good, my friends. Looking good. Looking good, my friend. Yeah, I think those the red beards would really stand out a lot. So I'm gonna let that brush sit in there for a minute. And I'm gonna grab a little bit of this dark stone because there's one spot right there that needs to be redone. And then one little spot right there. And I'm gonna call that did right there. Actually, the bottom half has a little spot that got blued. And now we'll call it did. Yes, sir. I think that look a purty. Oh, we got a little. This is gonna be a tough one. So we need to get around here without touching the bottom part. We roll the dark stone up just a little bit there. Okay. We just need to get right. Let's get a little closer here. Just kind of tap, 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 tap. Oh yeah, I think we're gonna be okay here. Yep, we'll be fine. Once again, tell them to look closer and slam their head into it. I don't like it. All right. I'm gonna take that dark stone off of there. I'm gonna test a little bit of blue on that. Yeah, I said I'm gonna leave it, but you know what happens. You know how this goes. Just a little bitty part. There. Now I'm gonna leave it. Okay. Oops. Missed the blue spot. Damn it. Hate when that happens. You gotta go over on his weapon, his fist weapon. Yep. His fist weapon did not get its blue. Alright, so we have made a group decision that we're only going to have red beards. And I am completely down with that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just, he has a fist weapon over here, and like we did on the other one, we just gotta go around and get the blue. There's a lot of this flesh color right here is supposed to be blue. Have to be careful when you're getting close to the end of something. so to speak. So you don't rush too fast and mess it up. Really and truthfully, this particular part I could just go over like that. That looks weird. Okay, that's what it is. It's like it just goes further out than I thought. That's better. I was like, oh, this looks strange. This looks strange. Woohoo! I'm glad I could be of entertainment while you were slaving away in customer service land. You know what, I'm just gonna paint all of that blue and then go back over it with the white later. So yeah, all right. So here's the deal. On the Troll Slayers, the color scheme that I have for any of the weapons is I make it like a stone. I'll show you. Kind of like a stone with the dark recesses. So that's what I'm going to do with these blades. It's kind of quick and easy, and it looks pretty badass for dwarves to have the stones. Kind of goes with the earthy kind of thing. So man, I think that looks pretty good. So we are going to, no, there's like a little spot there. That's what bugs me sometimes. Just get like a little bit of something. There we go. That looks much better. Alright. So it looks like we've got all the blue. For both. Actually, I think I'm going to just go ahead and blue line around the bottom of these cleats. Looks like this one spot right here needs it. Alright. So anyway, made a decision to go around the base of the shoes with the blue. Alright. And do the same over here. Because it's supposed to be like, I probably could use like a stone or something. Make it stone like the weapons, but I think it adds a little bit of accent to it. And then once we do the socks, it'll look even cooler, look even better. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this one with the same treatment. So we're just going around. As you can see, I'm kind of showing how you can do it without anything to hold it. But as you can see, it's I don't know, I think it becomes a little bit more tedious when you hold the bases. So, but sometimes it works out. And if you don't have a holder or don't want to make one or just don't care, then do what you do. Do what it do. Alright. I think it's a nice little accent touch right there. Alright, so that finishes the blue. We might actually get to a good point on these. What's going to take the longest on these is the beards, because they have to be right for me. So I take a little longer time on them. These little buckets here, little barrels on their side. I'm not sure what color I want to paint those either. But there's like a strap that goes through there. Yeah. Figure that out in a minute. I need a color to go around the edges, and then, yeah, but we'll figure that out. And we have a little touch-up work to do in a couple places where we got some stuff, but I think that, damn it, didn't quite get all the blue there. Yeah, I'm running into kind of the same issue, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on, but you can finish watching it later if you want, because it will be posted on our YouTube, on the YouTube. So thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with me. It's nice talking to y'all. If they're not talking to y'all for a bit, and I'll get with y'all on when we decide to do the league, so y'all can get involved. We're gonna be recording them, and then if any of you want to, you can commentate, like the Tabletop Sports Network commentary you can do for your own video if you want. So all right, cool. Found a couple of blue spots that I missed just then, so I just touched them real quick. But have a good one, Tristan. We'll see you later. Be safe and all of that. Alright, so I didn't plan on doing the all red beards, so I need to grab my lava orange real quick. So we got lava orange, also the army painter. Is there anyone left? Who is here? Nobody, nobody. So I just realized that these little barrels on the side are going to be a little bit of a pain in my butt. But we'll figure it out. Once again, shaking up my lava orange so I can at least start their beards. In the case of this dude, his hair. So that'd be fun. He has like a mohawk, so be careful when we're painting his mohawk. Yeah, we probably got about 30 more minutes, and then I know it's like a 4-hour deal, but a lot of talking along with the paintings, so. Yay. You're there for another, what, 10 minutes and then you're gone too? Alright. So, we put some lava orange on our wet palette. We're going to stir it. Stir it up. Stir it up. I always stir it with a bigger brush than the one I'm using. Alright, so I'm gonna start on their beards. See if we don't mess something up in the process. And make sure we don't mess up all our hard work so far. There we go. And also, this looks so bright when you first put it on, because it is. And then when you go through, like, this is the hardest, the hardest part is where the beard meets the face. Once again, just start further down and move in towards the face. You kind of want to get those edges done before you go too far down the beard. And also, since this is black primer, it's going to take a couple of coats of orange to get to completely cover it. But it'll build up as we go. And you will start to see it take firm. See how we see it take form. It's actually kind of interesting, well, to me anyway, the way that the beard kind of transforms as you layer it. So you'll see it come out right now, and here you'll see bright yellow, or bright orange, sorry. I just said yellow. Bright orange. And you're going to see the you're going to see it, sorry, you're going to see the black coming through it. Also, I'm trying to be careful not to get the orange on the fingers that are coming through, or on the bracer that's off, off to the side. But this whole thing, I just said I'm trying to get orange. Oh, I didn't get it. I don't think. That's good. The whole beard has to be done, and you don't realize how many sides of it, and where it all connects and so on and so forth to the rest of the model. But you'll start going. And you'll get that first coat on and it'll look terrible. That's what it looks like. There's no other way to describe it. It really, literally looks terrible because that first coat is very light. All right. And like I said, I'm trying not to... I mean, it doesn't matter so much with the... All right. Doesn't matter so much because you're going to see there's the little skull. Little skull things in his beard. And you can go ahead and get those orange too because you're just going to go over them. You don't want to go over them a bunch of times and as thick as you get the beard though. But if you get a little on it, it's not a big a deal. Eventually we're going to paint those white and then dark tone them and get that kind of weathered stone effect eventually. What's up, Caleb? Well, you'll be glad to know that we've decided to paint all of my dwarfs' beards red. They're all going to be gingers. They are all going to be the ginger. About time. Yes, none of them have souls. Not a one. So we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to come up with a name for a new name for the team for Blood Bowl, the Blood Bowl team, that to make sure that everybody knows they don't have souls. I need more paint. So right here is going to be a little tricky. I want to get paint on them, but not on the blue bracer we already painted down there. So once again, the first layer of paint on the beards is going to look terrible. but it's just where we kind of line out where everything goes. So we're going to get the back parts too. Once again, being careful not to paint anything else orange except the beard. Which is difficult. There's a lot of beard. Well, there you go. We just named the team Soulless Garbage. See? You're better at it than you thought. Well, you should. You brought it up. You made it up. It's your. You did it. Yeah. I got a little bit longer in me here. Just trying to get this first coat on everything so that I can move on to the other one for its first coat. I can't tell. Yeah, that's part of the skull. And this one's going to be a even bigger pain in my butt because there's like a bunch of the beard behind him. But like I said, I'll get it to where it looks decent from most angles, and then say F it. F it, daddy, F it. Alright. So we got some paint on everything so far. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Alright, so we got, nope, need a little bit more paint on this. Damn, I'm having to move this thing around a lot. Okay. So like I said, first coat, trash. Alright. Hello there. Oh, hey, Peyton. Alright. So we're going to strap this dude in. Now, good news about this dude. There's good and bad news. So he has this mask on. So it's just going to be a complete pain in my ass. Or, excuse me, pain in my behind. Oh. Don't want to get in trouble with the YouTube police. Alright. Whooshing a brush. This dude's beard isn't braided, so it's I guess it's a little less of a pain in the butt here. but not really. If you're not careful with these, then you get too much paint in the strands, in between strands. It looks like he's, got crap in his beard. Once again, we're just trying to get a good coat over everything. So we can come back, put a better coat over it later, or after this one dries a little bit. Because this one is going to look like crap. Alright. And these are the parts where it gets a little tricky. You don't want to get a bunch of yellow, you don't want to get orange on his masks. On his mask, but he's got a strand that comes out above the mask and the one below it. So you gotta get pretty close to it. Once again, you can always touch it up later. But when you're butting up against another surface, just start a little further back and then slowly move forward. Yes, sir. We're getting there. We get this part. Once again, the benefits of painting some things before they're assembled. So I'm pretty sure it ain't at least the part where the beard is. And I have to get behind it with something that could have been painted before. But like I said, I didn't assemble these, so I got them already assembled. Because Camden was nice enough to either give them to me or trade them to me so I could have dwarfs. Because I like the dwarves. Now this part's going to be a pain. So you got to get right in there. And if you're too sloppy, you get paint on the pants. So you have to touch that up. But once again, they shouldn't be looking that close anyway. I don't know if I can see how tight this spot is, but it's a pain. Once again, just trying to that first coat on. This is another one that's going to be a little bit of a pain. I believe there's a strand right behind his mask. Like, comes out right there. Yeah, definitely got to touch up a couple things. But I think we got our first coat on it, on all of it. All right. Once again, first coat always terrible. The good news is that the other one should be pretty much dry. So we can start the second coat. And things will start filling out. I'm washing my brush, even though I had even though I was still using the same color, it was starting to get a little paint in the bristles and making the brush go wide. And that kind of sucks when you're trying to do a little more detailed work when it starts fanning out and becomes more like a dry brush. That's interesting. Tattered boots or tattered shoes, huh? It's a thought. Soulless tattered garbage. See? You're doing really good. Soulless tattered garbage. And you're on a roll today. On a roll you are. And you said that you couldn't name things. I'm telling you, you're not giving yourself enough credit. Because soulless tattered garbage is pretty good. get it. I must have been painting too long. I didn't catch it. But yes, tattered shoes have no soles. You are correct. I like that. I like that. I didn't catch it at first, but it's growing on me. It's growing on me like a mold. Well, it's already starting to look better. Get a good solid coat on it all. You don't want to cake it on or anything, so being careful not to do that. And now that we're getting a better coat on this, we can see his hand starting to take some, starting to stand out a little bit. All right. Well, got another coat on the beard, and as you can see, it looks a lot better than it did. I think the next step on this one's going to be the wash. So I use a strong tone wash on the other beards, and it took about 2 or 3 layers. So I think what I'm going to do in this case, I got just a few more minutes. I rinse this brush out. My phone, which I'm using to watch the stream and get the chat and all that stuff, is about to die. So I am going to I'm going to go and get his hair while his beard dries. And once I get done with his hair and his beard dries, I'm going to put on the first coat of wash onto his beard. And then once I'm done with that, I want to be done for the night. And then I will post pictures of what it looks like once all the coats are done on his beard and his hair for the washes. And you can see what it looks like. So I'm just trying to ginger him up real nice. Almost. So I got I'm gonna have to let that dry before I put another coat on it to really get it. But you can see he's got the little mohawk going. All right. Well, little flat top going. His other buddies have mohawks going, but he's got a flat top. There we go. Gonna let that dry. Now, real quick, where did I use this? Oh, it was the flesh wall. All right. So last step I'm going to do before I shut everything down, I got a few minutes. I'm going to try to do it pretty regularly. I don't know if Thursday's going to be the day, but probably Thursday or Friday. So I'm going to try to do, I don't know if I'll do 4 hours again, but I got to finish these things, and I'd much rather do it on camera and while talking to people than just sitting and doing it. So probably be back on next Thursday. I like to do it more often, but I got a lot of other videos and stuff to do. So let's just plan on it being next Thursday about the same time. I start at 7. Because I have to work tomorrow on Fridays, so. I'm just shaking up this strong tone. Once again, another Army Painter quick shade. We use the flesh wash on the fleshy bits. Now we're going to use this wash, the strong tone. on his beard. Okay. And it's going to take, like I said, a couple of, I'd probably say, depending on, I mean, the other one took like 3 coats. I think it was 3 or 4. So. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, we're going to apply it pretty liberally. We don't want it like too thick. We want it to go over it. We want to make sure we're getting, and we're still want to avoid getting it on the hands, stuff like that. We don't want to get it on the other parts, the other like the skin tones and all that. So we want to make sure that we're keeping it fairly, localized to where we need it. So we don't want to give that same definition to the other parts. The flesh we use a different kind of wash for, so we don't want to mess with that one. And like I said, we just want to make sure we get it into all the cracks and crevices. But we don't want like huge pools. But when it dries, it's going to dry lighter than what it looks like now. I just wanted to show how it's applied and how much of a difference the first coat makes. So you can see already it still needs to dry. So it's very bright, very shiny right now. But once it dries, it won't be. And we'll put several coats on, or 3 or 4, 3 coats on there, and eventually we'll get this kind of detail. If you can see that on the Troll Slayer. We'll also put the same, once I get, matter of fact, I can go ahead and just toss a real quick, another coat on top of his head. Alright, so we've coated his head, and we'll use the same wash on his head too. But you can already see the change in his beard. So, alright, but I just wanted to throw that on there so y'all could see. I'll post pictures once I get the other layers on it. But my phone's about to die, which I'm watching, and we are pushing up right now to 4 hours. So, thanks to all that watched. Looks like we got another person that might have just dropped in. As soon as this processes, I will make sure it gets posted on the YouTube page as a uploaded video. So you can watch it there as well. It's not just live. So everything that we do live will be up on the YouTube channel. So thank you very much. for stopping by. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com. Well, you can see at the bottom left of the screen. You've probably been looking at it. You've probably seen it the whole time, but it's been there the whole time. What Game Now on Facebook, What Game Now on Instagram, What Game Now Live on Twitter, because someone took the What Game Now. But also this YouTube channel, we have a bunch of videos on a bunch of different games, and we try to present them in a different way. So check out our Tabletop Sports Network, because that's where Blood Bowl is going to be. You'll see how we do that with the commentary and our graphics with scoreboards and stuff like that. So we make it real fun to watch and informative for everyone. But like I said, I'll try to make it back on next Thursday and do some more painting. We'll probably move on to the runners then and see how far we can get with those. And we'll go from there. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great night. I'm out.